Welcome to the Peace Over Pain podcast with Dr. Kevin Reese, where we examine the body as a whole unit and move people from health burdens to health miracles. So get your questions ready, because the show starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the Peace Over Pain podcast. It is September 10th, 2022. I'm your host, Joe LaChance, and I'm here with the author of Peace Over Pain, Dr. Kevin W. Reese. Welcome, Dr. Reese. How are you today, my friend?
Happy New Day. And yesterday, one of our clients contacted us to let us know that they're feeling their feet for the first time in a long while. The neuropathy is going away.
Oh, nice.
And I thought that was just perhaps coincidence that we're talking blood sugar today.
Yes, because that is one of the symptoms of a blood sugar issue. Very cool. Yeah. Hey, before we get started, I just wanted to remind people we'll be taking your questions at 10:30. And if you have a question for Dr. Reese, please leave them in the comments below or click the Zoom link in the description and you could be live on air with us. So hopefully we'll get somebody who wants to be live on air. We've only had one so far. So, okay, well, very good. Yeah, today's September 10th. Tomorrow is the 11th anniversary of 21st anniversary of 9/11, is it?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, tomorrow, and the Queen died yesterday.
Yeah.
God save the Queen.
Yeah. I don't know much about that, so.
Well, she died. What else do you need to know? She's going back to the big reptile pen in the sky. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about blood sugar. Now, I don't know a ton about blood sugar issues. My family has been very lucky. We don't have anybody in our family, and I mean even my extended family, with any kind of diabetes or anything like that. Now, that's not to say that any one of us could have low or high blood sugar at any given time, but diabetes is something that takes a time to develop, at least type 2. But let's just talk about how a lot of the symptoms that people feel today, that they write off to fatigue, or they just, write it off as, something that's because they're tired or whatever. But blood sugar, your levels can affect a lot of different parts of your health. So why don't tell us a little bit about what would alert somebody that they may have an issue with the regulation of their blood sugar levels?
ADD, ADHD, adrenal fatigue, anxiety, bedwetting, bipolar, all mood disorders, cardiovascular disease, elevated cholesterol, elevated triglycerides, learning disabilities, fatigue, neuropathy, narcolepsy, migraine headaches, diabetes, obviously, infertility. I mean,
ED. I saw you did a little thing on ED. Does blood sugar have anything to do with ED?
It can, yeah.
Okay, wow. So we got a lot to talk about here.
Anything relating to veins and arteries and
right.
capillaries.
Right, because blood sugar has, it's in your blood. So, right. So, okay. So it's my understanding that the pancreas has a lot to do with processing the sugar, creating insulin that then helps the sugar break down into your body. Am I correct on that? See, I'm not really well versed in that, but the pancreas has a lot to do with it, right?
Yeah. I mean, not with type 2, but with type 1, the pancreas is lacking insulin.
Right.
So it's basically the same. It's the same thing as lactose intolerance.
Right.
The same exact thing. The body is in error. It's a birth defect, meaning the embryo did not have enough nutrition, and the human being being brought into the world cannot produce enough insulin from the pancreas, and that's what we call type 1 diabetes. And this is typically diagnosed with people under the age of 16. So
Yeah,
it's
they
called
call it, yeah,
juvenile.
juvenile, right?
And it gets misdiagnosed a lot too. Like if somebody gets diagnosed at 22 years old, it's a misdiagnosis.
It's type 2 then, right? Now, are the symptoms of type 2 the same as the symptoms of type 1? So type 2, it develops over time. It's usually in older people, although we're seeing it more in younger people these days. But is it the same thing where the pancreas cannot produce enough insulin, but not because it was born that way, but because over time with diet, poor blood, bad blood sugar?
No, it's not
So
the
what are the
same.
symptoms of type 2 then?
Everything that I named is the symptoms of type 2.
And the cause?
Type 1 doesn't have as many symptoms.
Right.
Type 1 is just you need to inject synthetic insulin into yourself so that you can handle your business.
Right. And what is the treatment for type 2?
Well, we don't treat anything, but
what does the medical monopoly tell you to do for type 2? How's that?
well, it's the same thing. They give you insulin.
Okay. All right. So how does one develop high or low blood sugar? And I'm assuming that each one has its own set of symptoms. So,
well, type 1 is not really it's not really a big topic to talk about.
No, I want to talk about the
it's just
developed
like
stuff.
Lactose. Yeah, but type 2, what happens is they technically should be called different diseases.
Right.
They really should, because it just confuses people. Type 2 operates on a spectrum.
Okay.
So you know how with the sea monster, they say, oh, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Ideally, the medical monopoly should change their ways and do it in stages. If they knew what they were doing, they would do it in stages. So if you have a 5-year-old child and that kid is super ADHD, he's bouncing off the walls, he has, a change of mood, bipolar or whatever, you can technically say that 5-year-old has stage 1 diabetes. Because what's happening is we need 2 nutrients to process sugar. That's chromium and vanadium. And there's also 23 cofactors that go along with those 2. So you can't just go to the store and,
get chromium, and you can't even find vanadium.
So when we're not able to process the sugar and have the insulin be dissolved through the cell, that means obviously there's too much sugar running through our blood. And this can greatly affect the mind, the arteries, the veins, and the capillaries. This causes a lot of issues. I mean, we named them, I named them, 2-3 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the symptom list is incredible.
And we're talking actually glucose levels, right? Because sugar metabolizes into what they call glucose, right?
Yeah, all food does, even protein and fat.
It all has glucose in it, right?
Yeah, it transfers to glucose because we need sugar to live.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean you have to eat sugar to live.
Right. That's what I wanted to get at. Now, how do people develop these blood sugar issues? Is it because they eat a lot of candy and a lot of sweets? Right. A lot of people think that
it's the same thing as cholesterol. It's the same concept. Cholesterol is not bad. Sugar's not bad. But if you're low in chromium and vanadium, you're not going to be able to handle the influx of sugar.
Right.
So the more sugar you eat, the more chromium and vanadium you need. And that's why when we put someone on a blood sugar protocol, we give them an extra
Boost.
boost with our blood sugar formula, which has chromium, vanadium, etc. So that's what we do on top of the 90 essential nutrients. Plus, we
Right.
alter their diet, and it works, and it happens fast, just like the woman that contacted us the other day about her neuropathy fading away. Now, that's just because neuropathy is, we're talking about veins, and veins are smaller than arteries.
Capillaries are even smaller.
Right. And so that's why people with blood sugar issues, they have problems with their eyesight. They have perhaps ED. They have, they can't feel their toes or whatever it is. And that's just the veins and the capillaries being attacked by the sugar, which is creating inflammation, and it's just constricting. That's all it is a chokehold.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem is, especially when this happens up here in the arteries, the body then wants to put out the fire, so it sends out cholesterol. And so that's how we plaque cholesterol. It's the body. There's nothing wrong with the cholesterol. It's the body is trying to save your life from the sugar, which is creating the inflammation. And so cholesterol is put out and it starts plaquing. So it's the body's wisdom working against you. Just recently had a woman just a few weeks ago, and we did the NRAY test where we're doing her nutrition scores. And, her blood sugar section was through the chart. And go figure, she has 3 clogged arteries, atherosclerosis. And, this is no accident. So she's probably had blood sugar issues since she was a little kid. And so this takes time. This is why I say it operates on a spectrum. Way over here at the end of the timeline, that's dialysis.
Right.
Because your kidneys are going to go out eventually, because your kidneys are fed by veins. Right? So that's the end of the spectrum. That's where my dad is right now. But at the beginning of the spectrum is probably a kid bouncing off the walls because they have ADHD.
Or somebody, an adult maybe, who gets tired in the middle of the day because their sugar levels drop. Right. That's another thing. They have something called hyperglycemia and hypoglycemia.
Yeah.
One is high, one is low, obviously. Which is which?
Well, the hypo is very much similar to dehydration. And so that's another thing about diabetics is they typically don't drink enough water. They constantly seek sugar. It's constant. It's constant. Yeah. And not all of them have a sweet tooth. So it's not all about cake and candy. Sometimes it's about potatoes and rice. And it's constant. They're constantly seeking it. And if they don't have it, they get moody.
Right.
If you gave a diabetic or a pre-diabetic a meal of, say, scrambled eggs and an avocado, they're going to be like, dude, where's my bread? Where's my toast?
Where's the carbs?
Right, yeah, where's my potatoes? What are you talking about? This is crazy. They're constantly searching for those carbohydrates because their body is running off of it. Very similar to alcoholism.
I was going to bring that up.
In fact, a great way to get someone off of alcohol, if they were willing, would be to give them candy bars and cake and candy and just let them do that for 2 weeks and then merge the fruit and then slowly bring them off the sugar, because all alcoholics are sugar monsters. If you ever
heroin addicts too, that's a big thing with heroin addicts, is they have a huge sweet tooth. So I wonder if it's a similar thing.
Maybe. But I know alcoholics, if you ever meet someone who's not a alcoholic anymore. They're eating the candy still. They're drinking the Red Bulls. They're drinking the soda. They're just trying to still get it as much as they can.
Interesting. I just thinking about somebody who I know, and you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right.
And it all comes back. And this is the mind-blowing part, that it's so simple that it's complicated, that it's all nutritional deficiency.
If you had enough chromium and vanadium, you wouldn't be craving the sugar as much, right?
Or you'd be able to process it.
Right.
And here's the curveball. Here's the conspiracy, Joe. If you look at dog food, it's supplemented with chromium and vanadium. Why? Because they eliminated diabetes in animals in the 1950s.
Because they knew.
If you look at baby food, there's no chromium or vanadium. Zero. It's almost as if they're saying, we need people to eventually get diabetes because it makes a lot of money.
It's interesting, and I know we've talked about this on another episode, how the dog food and cat food, because I was looking at my cat's food, and it's omega-3s. You look at the list, and it's loaded with vitamins and minerals that they put in there. And again, you'll look at a baby food or whatever, nothing. They don't enhance it at all. And I think you're right. I think they don't make enough money off animals. The animal food is highly regulated, more than people food. And I think the system is set up so you be ill.
Right? Yeah. It's almost a crime that, food that you buy for your pet bird or reptile has more nutrition than your own newborn.
Right. And that's very telling. That's very telling about where we're at with our medical and our quote unquote health industry.
And diabetes is such a moneymaker, because you're getting, first of all, you got the continuity program of the insulin all the time, right? But then on top of that, it's feeding the whole sugar industry and the food corporations. And you're eventually going to get the neuropathy. You're going to get the anxiety. You're going to get the bipolar. So you're going to end up on more medications. Right. And then eventually you end up on dialysis, which roughly costs $10,000 a month.
Right.
So this is big money, big money.
Big money, right.
And the diabetes type 2 specifically, arguably, is the biggest moneymaker there is long term.
Right.
Whereas something like the sea monster, they bombard you with the money stuff over the course of, say, 6 months, and then it's kind of over, right? But diabetes is like, man, they stretch it out for 4 decades.
Yeah.
And what I was saying earlier about it being on a spectrum too, Joe, is, there's no type 2 diabetics in their 20s. It takes time. Right. It takes time to be officially diagnosed and for your blood sugar, your A1C, to be permanently high.
Right.
And that's what they use as a gauge. They're like, oh, it's permanently high. Now you need to do A, B, C, and D.
And what do they even consider permanently high? How many blood tests do they have to take? They say, oh, it happened twice, 3 times in a row. Yeah. Well, it's permanent now. Because I remember I took a blood test. I don't know, maybe it was my year ago. And everything was fine, except my blood sugar levels were really high. And my doctor couldn't figure it out. She's like, Joe, you've never had an issue with blood sugar. What happened? I said, I don't know. I ate a lot of honey, And she's like, well, look, just do me a favor, cut out the honey. And I'm like, all right. Next month, they're fine. They're back leveled off. So for 1 month, 1 blood test, I had high blood sugar. I think it was at 130. And then the next month, it was right back down to normal.
Right.
Or the next test. When I don't take them every month, but it was right back down to normal. So, I mean, my doctor didn't panic. she said it's probably a one-time thing, and you probably had some sugar before the day before you took your test or whatever. But there's a lot of talk these days about processed sugar as compared to natural sugar, as compared to the big one, which I think we haven't mentioned yet. But this is something that the food industry, the big monopoly, the food monopoly, has used as a substitute, which I think is not very healthy for you. And this is what they call high fructose corn syrup, which comes from GMO corn. Yeah. And it's a highly processed, I guess they call it sugar because it's fructose, but it's a highly processed form of a sweetener. Let's call it that. But it does not process in your body the same way, let's say, like eating a piece of fruit would process the sugar, or even, as you mentioned before, potatoes and rice, which a lot of people don't know, but starches like that, when the body processes it, it definitely turns into a lot of sugar, correct?
Yeah, well, high fructose corn syrup doesn't have fiber.
Right.
Fiber slows down the insulin spike. So, same thing with juice. So you drink apple juice, your sugar is going to go, it's going to shoot up.
Right.
But if you eat an apple, not so much.
Because it's more concentrated. The amount of juice you get in a glass of apple juice is not the same that's in one apple.
Yeah, there's no fiber.
Right. And also, I think when it comes from apple juice, as long as, like you say, your body is processing sugar quickly or properly, like if you do take, let's say, a glass of apple juice and your sugar levels spike a little bit, your body will be able to regulate it back down to where it should be, though, correct?
Yeah.
But the problem happens when your body can't regulate it down to the place it should.
And that's the nutritional deficiency. Yeah.
Right. That is a nutritional deficiency. So what is it, what is the difference between the way the body handles, let's say, a processed sugar, like the white sugar that you put in your coffee, or most people do, you put in your coffee or whatever, and then natural sugar, which would come, like you say, from eating an apple or eating an orange, or, a natural way, because there's always a big campaign about, less processed sugar. Right. If you're going to have, I don't have any beverages or drinks that have sugar in them. I don't use them, but I know a lot of people do. And a lot of people would say, well, I want the pure cane sugar. Right. I don't want that processed white sugar. What is the difference between them, and how does your body process them a little differently? Because I've got to think they're different metabolically than each other.
Well, I think, again, the biggest difference is the fiber. Mm. That's really it. If you get some pure sugar powder, the body is going to process that sugar pretty much the same as eating an apple or an orange. It's just the apple and the orange have fiber.
Right.
They have more components. They have more nutrition.
Right.
The cane sugar powder is isolated.
It's like an isolate.
And so it's got a high, glycemic load, but the actual sugar itself, it's the same. Sugar is sugar, just like protein is protein, but there's just context to it, but the body doesn't know the difference.
Right.
It really doesn't know the difference. It doesn't say, no, not cane sugar, So yeah, but the thing is, processed sugar would fall into the poor 4 under fake.
That's what I wanted to get at. It's like you said, it's an isolate. And I think people need to understand the difference between, and I do from being in the cannabis industry, but between isolate and whole food, or as we say, whole plant. Whereas isolate is, they'll take a sugar cane, right? And they'll just pull out the sweet part of it. Whereas a sugar cane has all kinds of different nutrients and different things in it besides sugar. Right. And they'll do it with beets. They do that a lot with beets. Like they'll take a beet, which is really good for you, loaded with iron and all kinds of vitamins, and they just pull the sugar out of it. So it's an isolate. So it's one molecule, as opposed you'd be better off eating a beet,
Right.
you know, than you would. So I think that's what people need to understand when you say it comes under the auspices of fake. It is actually fake because it's an isolated version of what comes from a whole food.
It's the same thing as oil in a way. Olive oil is not the olive. It's the oil of the olive.
Right. You can eat an olive. That's not on the list.
Now, if you want to chew on the actual cane, maybe that's better. Maybe
it grows here. I could do that. We grow sugar cane here.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to try it, but I agree. You're always better off getting it from a natural way. Like you say, eating an apple, eating an orange, eating a piece of fruit.
I'm a big advocate of fruit, and I've had a lot of experience with diabetic clients, and fruit doesn't bother them at all. It'll bring the blood sugar up and it'll come down beautifully. Like I remember doing an experiment with a diabetic with grapes. And he was so nervous. It's too much. Blah, blah, blah. I said, just try a big bowl of grapes. And 3 hours later, his sugar was low.
Mm-hmm.
And he needed insulin, or I'm sorry, he needed more sugar rather to come back up. So, just fruit juice. Well, if he had grape juice, then, it would have been maybe a different story. That's why a lot of diabetics carry juices with them. They'll carry juice packs like they're, 5-year-old going to kindergarten. They got the little apple juice packs just in case. So fruit is great for diabetics. Although if they're a really bad diabetic and they've been diabetic for more than 10 years, I would bring them down to like 1 apple a day and everything else just be protein, fat in their diet or veggies.
Right.
Because we want to get that vanadium and that chromium up. We want to get that nutrition up, get them topped off. And then in a few months, then they can handle the sugar. Then they can bring fruit back in. But you got to fix the problem first. Fix the leak in the roof.
Right.
And throw water on it.
Now, how does one become chromium and vanadium deficient?
Well, just like everything, it's just, they're minerals. And like we talked about on the last episode, we have a mineral problem in our soil.
Right.
And we're certainly not near any, big mountains of limestone and stuff like that where we can.
It would be in the water, right?
Yeah. So we're just not getting enough minerals. And it just so happens if you don't have those two, you can't process sugar properly.
Right.
And also, even someone that can process sugar decently, such as myself, I still take the blood sugar formula anytime I decide to carb out. I say this all the time, once a week, I like to pig out on popcorn.
Right.
I get organic popcorn, I air pop it, and then I dump as much melted ghee as I can on it and enough salt as I can. And it's beautiful. It's like the healthy version of being at a movie theater. And I eat a lot, but it's a lot of sugar. It's a lot of carbs. So I pop one of our supplements for vanadium and chromium, because the more carbs and sugar you eat, the more chromium and vanadium you eat. It's the same concept as an enzyme with your gut. If you know you're going to be eating, a big steak with, avocado or something, that's a lot of fat. And if your stomach isn't operating how it should be, you pop an enzyme.
Which I do, yeah.
this is just smart nutrition. This is just smart. And it doesn't mean that you have a blood sugar issue or a gut issue. It's just being responsible. It's being smart. It's using the resources and technology that we have to be better, just like we use Zoom and Facebook right now. It's just an advancement.
Right. And if we have these resources at our disposal, we have this knowledge, we might as well use it. And that's the thing. A lot of people, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the resources, but it's there. It's out there if people just do their research. And of course, an easy way is just join the clinic and start asking questions,
Right.
And that's, I think that's a key thing to tell the listeners. Don't be afraid to get in the group and ask questions, because our coaches are moderating and monitoring the group all the time. And if Amber sees that you have a question about blood sugar, she's going to get back to you and have you take that N-ray, the test.
Yeah.
And people shouldn't panic if they find out they have high or low blood sugar at any given time, because again, it's not always permanent and it can be regulated, but
Absolutely.
you just have to go in and find out what they're eating, find out what they're supplementing. You have to get a little more information from the person to know what to tell them what to do.
Type 2 diabetes can be reversed in 6 weeks or less.
Right. And some people have blood and they're not even at that stage of diabetes level, but they have those drops in energy during the day, or they'll have, like you said, a little neuropathy in their feet or a little ADD problem. And they don't think, oh, I must have blood sugar issues. But if you check it.
Yeah, ADD, dude, ADD and ADHD, and we'll probably do a topic on this somewhere down the line, because we always need topics, right, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
It's an epidemic, man.
Big time.
I just met a woman who was telling me she's so bad that, she'll mismatch her socks, or she'll go out with like the wrong shoes on, or like it's just bad because, we're coming into this world deficient in chromium and vanadium, and then we're piling on sugar. From our first birthday here in America, they have the tradition where they give us the cake.
Right.
So right away, the kid is like, ooh, cake. And this is
it's a drug.
It's our heroin, it's our cocaine, it's sugar. This is what it is. It's not like salt. Salt is a mineral. So when we're overeating salt, we're just trying to supplement. Where our bodies are like, ooh, I need more minerals. So you're putting the salt shaker, or
your stomach needs more acid.
Sugar is different. Sugar is straight drug. And then once you get on it, you need to keep putting it in, because now you're running off of sugar. And anyone that doesn't believe that, just go on a sugar detox and you will have withdrawals.
Headaches,
all sorts of things. You will have withdrawals. You'll have weird dreams. You'll have all sorts of things. And we talked about this, I think 2 episodes, we talked about PTSD.
Right.
People with PTSD, not all, but a lot, have blood sugar issues because it's stress coming in from an external source. And people with blood sugar issues can't handle stress well. Right. Your brain is being soaked in sugar, right? You're not there. You're not focused. And so, if you go back before we had all these blood sugar issues, let's just say 1,000 years ago, now we're what, medieval? There's a lot of stress back then. All right. Like if you're in a village and you see some Viking ships pulling up, that's stress. Okay. That's not like the woman.
What they're coming for.
Yeah, it's not like the woman at your job is trying to ruin me. Like that's third world modern drama. Like imagine barbarians coming for your head. Okay, that's stress. Or you need to hunt just to put food on the proverbial table of your family. Okay, people didn't cower and end up with PTSD. Okay, I seriously doubt that there was these Native Americans living in the wilderness having anxiety attacks. This is modern stuff. We have a blood sugar issue in the modern world, and that makes us very weak. Our nerves, our brain is fried, and then the external stress comes in. We can't handle it. We melt, and the medical monopoly capitalizes on it by creating a culture around a term called mental health. And they're promoting mental health just like they did the sea monster, and they're making they're going to make trillions off of mental health. Now everyone's like, my mental health, you can actually call out of work and be like, my mental health's not right.
Yeah.
Imagine living in a tribe in the woods and being like, my mental health's not good.
And then they'd send you right out to the woods. Go get your head right.
Yeah.
They would. And that's what they did. There was rituals like that. Go out into the forest and spend a couple of days. That's it.
Some ayahuasca or something,
well, they had peyote, and they used cannabis, tobacco. So yeah, maybe
sweat
lodges, right? I mean, they had their own methods because let's be real. Like you said, there's a Vikings coming. There's a buffalo charging the camp. You're going to get a stress or anxiety, but the difference is how you're going to react to it. They're going to go grab a spear and try to kill the buffalo. They're not going to, maybe some of them will run, but I mean, they're not going to, oh my God, a buffalo. I'm so triggered now. That buffalo almost ran me over. No, they'll kill the buffalo. That's dinner. But yeah, obviously the society's changed, and we can get into that, but it's technology, it's the food, it's the medical monopoly, it's everything.
If I had to use one word, I would just say it's civilization.
Yeah, I agree. And I think maybe we'd be better off almost going back to a more tribal way of living, but that's me. But anyway,
some people are.
Well, I'm one of them, brother. I'm one of them. I mean, I'm getting as tribal as I can, because I think it is a more simpler and a better way to live. Obviously, I haven't unplugged from technology yet, but I do spend a lot less time with it, and I spend a lot more time in nature. So I'm trying. But anyway, we're almost at question time. So let's do it. And after this little word from our sponsor here, hold on.
Have you read Peace Over?
Hey, what happened?
The sponsor ruined it.
The sponsor is no bueno.
It's okay. Let's just go into the questions.
Oh, I want to play the commercial, Kevin. We have to.
Plus,
I need a minute to get them up.
This short but powerful book reveals how to eliminate chronic pain and or illness faster than any other known therapeutic approach. Download the Peace Over Pain book for only $4.95 and gain instant access to the ebook version, audiobook version, and a video training with Dr. Reese. Go to peaceoverpain.com and start reading or listening right now. This is the information you've been praying for.
Okay, yeah, and just a reminder, you can find the Peace Over Pain book on Amazon.com or at peaceoverpain.com, or by joining the group, the Peace Over Pain Clinic on Facebook. All right, Kevin, here we go, because we have some interesting questions this week. So let's get right started with that. This comes from Jane on Facebook. Janie, word came out this week that Dr. Robert Morse has kidney stones and went into the hospital. This is shocking. How could this have happened? And Dr. Morse is one of your earlier mentors. I'm correct, Kevin, and he's very big in the natural health industry. Tell us a little bit about this news.
Yeah, it definitely shocked a lot of people. I mean, people were contacting me about it. I guess it's always shocking when the health guru has health issues, right? But, kidney stones typically come from a calcium deficiency. This is something that a lot of plant-based people suffer with.
Mhm.
When you're not getting enough calcium, which is easy to happen, then your parathyroid sends out a hormone, and that hormone goes in your blood and it triggers your calcium in your bones to be leached. And so the body steals calcium from your bones, from your nails, from your teeth. And what happens is you end up with too much calcium. It's the same concept as cholesterol. And so now, if you had blood labs taken, your cholesterol would be high. So it's a storm of calcium. I think I just said cholesterol. I meant calcium. Your calcium would be high. And then at some point, it's going to coagulate into stones. Calcification, right? And
Calcification,
then
right?
that's going to come through the urethra and it's going to hurt. This is the male version of giving birth.
Yeah, I've never had one, but I've heard they are really,
And
really
it takes
painful.
time. It's not something that happens in a week. It
No.
takes months and months, if not years and
Years.
years. And 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 so a lot of these people have the same symptoms. They have brittle nails, they have messed up teeth constantly at the dentist, they have bone and joint issues, and of course osteoporosis, osteopenia, things like this. And it typically hits people in their 60s and 70s.
And he's older now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what he eats. I have no idea. I know
We
he's
know he used to be strictly plant-based. I don't know if he's changed his diet or not.
I have no idea. There's no way to know unless he would talk about it, but I know he's in pain. I hope he recovers. But people should just understand nutrition. You know, Dr. Morse doesn't teach nutrition. He teaches detoxification. And nutrition is important. And I think we should pay more attention to it. It is a root cause. Now, there's also another thing that leaches the calcium, Joe, and that's when you eat too much phosphorus.
Mm.
It's a 2-to-1 ratio. For every 2 calcium, you need 1 phosphorus. And so if you're eating a lot of phosphorus, which could be a lot of meat or a lot of plants, and not enough calcium, where's calcium? Calcium's in bones. Unless you're supplementing. Our product that we do here at the clinic has 1,200 milligrams of calcium. That's the best on the market. You need it. We got 200 bones, plus nails, plus teeth, and you don't want to end up with a calcium deficiency. A lot of people that are doing the carnivore diet, they're potentially having calcium issues too, because it's muscle meat has a high phosphorus, not enough calcium. The animal is meant to be eaten, the whole animal.
Bones too.
Bones do, right. And then the balance would happen. This is the way everything's divinely designed. So this is, again, going back to what we talk about all the time. This is why we supplement with the 90 essential nutrients. We don't play around with the food. You're going to end up hurt in some way.
Yeah.
Just drink it every day. It's so easy.
It's very easy.
And it solves the issue like this. You know, it's like putting an air conditioner in your room in July. It's like, why wouldn't you?
Well, I can say from my own experience, my chiropractor had told me that I have a calcium deficiency because he could tell by my bones were very weak, not weak, but a little bit brittle. And this was before I got on the 90. And since I've been on the 90, and I do a couple of other different ones too, but that I add with it. But the 90 to me, just it almost cleared it right up. Like, I don't know how bad the deficiency was, but, and again, it had to build up over time. It wasn't like after 2 weeks on the 90, it went away. But after 6 months, dude, my bones feel great. My nails are pretty now. My teeth aren't loose anymore. You know, it's just a question of when you're deficient like that, you have to start putting it in there somehow. And if you're really deficient, like you said, add a little extra to get you up to where you should be, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get to another question because there's a couple good ones.
Also,
that
just real quick, oxalates. Oxalates are a anti-nutrient that's in a lot of vegetables. If you eat too much of it, it can bond with oxygen, with calcium, and also contribute to the kidney stones. So you got two things going on here: calcium deficiency and bringing in too much oxalates, bringing in too much phosphorus. This is complicated stuff that a lot of people don't understand, but it's legit science and it explains everything.
right. And again, you can get all this information right in the clinic. All right. Oh, this ties into what we talked about before, and this may be the person you're talking about. I don't know. Aaliyah on Facebook says, "How did you get the woman to feel her feet again? Neuropathy isn't an easy fix." So I guess you talked about this woman who lowered her neuropathy, the person we talked about at the beginning of the show, and I mean,
Yeah.
I guess reiterate the
Yeah.
neuropathy for his blood sugar.
Yeah. You bring the diet low carb and get on the 90 essential nutrients, get on the other formula that provides the 2 minerals and the 23 cofactors to process and metabolize sugar, right? And it doesn't take long. The
Right.
veins and the capillaries and the arteries, they start to respond. They start to come back.
No, they actually do. I think people need to really understand the importance of even if you just start with the 90, it'll make a huge difference in your life. Okay. This is Jan on Facebook. "I'm blown away by postural alignment and P-raise. I'm in the UK and joined the other night." I guess this is more of a comment. "Got straight into listening to the guides." So good. Very, very good.
The guides, that's a section in the Facebook group where we have some videos so people can go there and kind of, so this is great. This woman, you see, she's what we want.
Yes.
Someone that's taking the bull by the horns. Not everyone does that. Some people come into the group and they may even forget that they're even in the group,
Right.
but people that are ambitious and they want to, they want their health freedom. You got to put in the work. And something I need to say, because somebody asked me this the other day. They were like, "I'm looking for your program on your website and I don't see it. How much is it?" And I'm like, "Oh, there's no prices on the website, nowhere."
Right.
Because we're not looking to make transactions. We're looking to make transformations. So in order for us to exchange money and get to the high level stuff, you need to do all the lower level stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You need to read the book. You need to watch the videos, tune into these podcasts, watch the replays if you can't make it live, ask questions, watch the Nancy Barrow interview, get your P-Ray done, get your N-Ray done, get on a phone with Coach Amber, do all these little things, and then we'll talk shop. But I don't want to talk shop with someone that's just coming in. Like, we don't take walk-ins,
Right. You have to be
a
admitted.
chiropractor will, a naturopath will. If you can call them and be like, set up an appointment and go get snap, crackled, and pop and buy some supplement. And somebody asked me the other day too, they're like, "Well, where can we buy this 90 essential nutrients at?" I say, you can't. You got to come in and you got to get on the phone with Coach Amber, because we don't want to just give it out. We want to know what's wrong with you first. We want to talk it out so we can put you on the right protocol.
Right.
We're trying to do things correctly here.
Right.
Everything is protocol based. And the medical monopoly is prescription based. We're protocol based.
Right.
So
Big difference.
Let's hop on the phone and let's discuss your symptoms and let's figure it out and let's do it correctly. And I'm willing to lose money off that, because some people are going to just bounce and go find the supplement because they want to do it on their own, and that's fine. But we want to do it the right way.
Yeah. And I think people need to realize that between the group, between the website, between the YouTube page, there is a ton of information. Just get started with that. And that's even before you contact Coach Amber or contact Coach Rain.
Mm-hmm.
This is like primer. Get primered, learn about it first, and understand it, because if you don't, it probably will. You're like you say, you'll probably end up bouncing.
Yep.
Okay, here's one. And this you can answer real quick because I want to get to this one question. Vasu on IG, do you plan to come to India? Are you a yogi?
No, I have no plans of going to India. I don't travel much. I barely even travel in my state.
Right.
Although 2 days ago I was in Greenwich, Connecticut, which is great. Working on a partnership out there. So I'll tell you about that in a few more weeks. But no, I don't have plans to go to India. I think it would be nice, but maybe I'll just wait till virtual reality gets more popular.
Wait till you're older, Kevin. Then you can go up into the mountain.
Yeah.
And find Babaji. Okay. John on Facebook. Dude, you're glowing like a bronzed Yahweh. How do you get that complexion? Let's get down to brass tacks. How much does it cost me to get on the protocol to get that complexion? I don't know if they're talking to you or me, but go ahead.
What's a bronze Yahweh?
Oh, like
Wow.
Yahweh God, Whoa.
Wow. Well, John, it's nutrition, man.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. You stay off the poor four foods. Don't bring the bad stuff in. Get your 90 essential nutrients and whatever else you need on your protocol. And, get some decent sleep and, you'll get a good complexion. Drink water.
Get some sun. Get some sun. Sunbathing is a great thing. The rays of the sun are excellent for your skin, even though they say it's not. All right, here we go, Kevin. I don't know what you did this week, but I got a trigger alert from KJ2K222 on IG. This guy don't even want to use his name. And this is a reaction to a video that you made about when a man heals himself. And this says, did you just really use the word beta? Identifying yourself as alpha or beta is just ridiculous. Now, this is a long ass comment. Wanting, nurturing that love and affection from your woman does not mean you're a beta in any type of way. And it definitely doesn't mean you haven't healed yourself. If a man can't pillow talk with his own woman and express his feelings, tell her everything that he feels, give her what she needs as well, without being called a beta and saying he hasn't healed yet. I mean, this goes on. It is absolutely ridiculous. If you want to use alpha and beta terms, then a true alpha would have no problems. Dude, you triggered showing his woman his sensitive side and expressing everything inside of him. This toxic way of thinking is unhealthy for both partners in the relationship. To think you're too alpha to give your woman a more sensitive and emotional side of you is such a BS way of thinking. And you're still calling yourself alpha and others beta. I'm reading it the way she would. Then you're the one who hasn't healed your inner child. And you have a lot more issues than you think. To each their own. I love nurturing, affectionate, loving side of my woman. That's what is so beautiful about a woman. So this is a man. Any dude who calls himself an alpha is the biggest beta. Boy, what did Andrew Tate do? Because his whole video is toxic. Dude, I got to look at that video. What is this about? What did you say, Kevin? Beta, alpha. I know that's a big term with the younger people these days.
Yeah.
But what is it? What did you? Tell me about this.
I just did a video about how when a man heals himself, he no longer needs external nurturing.
Oh.
And I use the term alpha and beta, just like you said, they're hot words, and I use them to describe.
There's trigger words.
Not that serious, The bottom line of the message is that when you heal yourself as a man, you no longer transform into that little 8-year-old boy that needs that approval from a woman. And see, women don't want to hear that because they naturally want to nurture and whatnot. But I don't need to be nurtured. I don't need
me neither.
A woman to run her hands through my hair or, hug me and cuddle. I just don't, because I've healed myself. It's very hard for people to understand that. because, and I'm speaking from very direct experience, because I've had girlfriends or partners in my 20s and first half of my 30s where, you get into the bed and it's pillow talk time,
Mhm.
and you're so traumatized by life that you spill your guts.
Right.
And guess what happens? The
We know
woman
what
eventually
happens.
leaves,
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, I didn't sign up for a little boy.
Yeah, and they use this as a male term, alpha beta, but look, it happens in both genders. And when a woman heals themselves,
Yeah.
they no longer feel like they need a man to take care of them. I mean, male and female dynamics are so screwed up these days. But I mean, if you get back down to basics, and this is, again, goes with yin and yang, the two energies, women have a nurturing energy, just like the earth, just like the soil. You put a seed in the soil. Men have a more of a taking care of, I don't know what you'd call it, but a
Provisions, just
provision, responsibility kind of. And this is, I don't want to say it's built in nature, but it's just an energy thing,
there
yin and
are
yang.
there are alpha women out there. They're CEOs, they're executives, they're
Right.
doctors, they take care of their business. There's nothing negative about alpha or beta. It's just a description of,
Dude, they used to call it type A and type B. What's the difference? Nobody had a problem with that. I just don't think they like those terms.
right. But a man, I get a man. If a man knows how to nurture himself and take care of himself, he has no need to show his emotions to his lover.
This is controversial, Kevin, the more you're getting into it. I agree with you.
A lot of women want that because
And men want it.
Yeah, because men want mommy.
And they want other things.
And women, again, this is generally speaking, this is not everyone.
Not always, right.
And a lot of women get off on that they get to nurture their man.
It's like a need, a mothering need.
If you go to the grocery store, you'll see a lot of these quote unquote beta males being led around the aisles almost on a leash by these alpha women, because
oh my God, the comments are going to come.
If a man can't step up, the woman will. The woman will, because
yes, they will.
They will. And that's where you get the term henpecked husband.
PW.
Right? Did you're gonna have a woman all over you. Did you take your 90 essential nutrients today? You gotta do it, take it. And then eventually the guy's, either gonna yell and be like, stop telling me what.
Stop nagging me.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all male-female dynamics that have been going on for years. And now I think with a lot of this gender and all these different social issues that are coming out, it's become a hot topic. But honestly, when I was growing up, you were growing up, it wasn't really that big of a deal.
I didn't know.
I thought it was just normal dynamics between men and women.
Yeah, and men, if a man doesn't know, then he doesn't know. I didn't know until I went into my dark night of the soul. And then I figured it out, and I learned how to take care of myself in that way and have emotional intelligence. But I lost a lot of women in my 20s and first half of my 30s because I wasn't healed.
Right.
And once I got healed, that makes me
self-sufficient.
It's dangerous.
I know.
It's dangerous to a woman because they're looking at some point, they're looking for you to cower, and
we're gonna be in big trouble.
It's okay, baby. It's okay, baby. Everything's gonna, and there's none of that with me. You're not gonna get that with me.
Me neither, but we're going to get ourselves in trouble if we keep talking any longer. There's going to be more people triggered. But we're at the end of the show, believe it or not. So I just want to remind people to like, subscribe, Follow us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, join the Peace Over Pain group, and then also come over to the website and see what we got to offer there. But Kevin, we're done for the day, believe it or not. This was a great talk.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the comments from our last little discussion there.
Right on.
And someday maybe we'll make that a topic. And we'll
Yes,
bring
sir.
on our buddy, the Rational Male there. All right, Kevin, we'll talk to you later. See y'all next week.
Thanks for watching the Peace Over Pain podcast live inside our clinic's Facebook group. Be sure to submit a question or comment for next week's show at peaceoverpain.com. Also, perform some goodwill and tell a friend in pain that you found their solution. Refer them to the Peace Over Pain podcast and the Peace Over Pain book and help them move closer to their miracle.